do I talk about this? There's so many different ways to approach. There was many different ways to approach Dennis. You know, all that really comes to mind is the time we spent together over the ballot access, and he'd drop off this huge mound of pages to me. But I thought it was going to be for just a couple of minutes, but it turned out to be sometimes 45 minutes, an hour, and 15 minutes. He was so easy to get along with and open up to. And I brought the photo that John took of Dennis there. If anybody remembers, you know, really that blue beard he had, but really it was more back there, one-on-one. I'm so glad he had the time and didn't have to scoot away, you know, get on his motorcycle. You know, I don't know how many times, you know, I'll bet Krista would remember how many how many sheets of paper that was and how many times we probably got together.
The first time that I met Dennis was I was a roadie for his band, his best friend's band. He was crazy. He was over the floor. He was at the front, pretending he was stripping. He was, you know, banging his head, you know, while double fisting drinks. So I invited him to the convention. While we're sitting next to each other, he's making joke after joke after joke, and it's like I couldn't even pay attention to the convention. It was just Dennis being Dennis.
Dennis and I had a lot of things in common. We actually knew a lot of people in the same circles, heavy metal, punk, the clubs in the city, people that were musicians. We actually knew a lot of the same people before we met. But the one thing that brought us together, that Dennis and I had in common, was our ability to make fun of Steve. We first met each other, and he was making fun of Steve, and I was making some jokes, and I'm like, hey, you like to make fun of Steve? I love making fun of Steve. This is great. And it kind of became our little bonding thing. Like, how can we mess with Steve at the next event? And then online, we'd share jokes and find ways, and it was so great because Steve was such a good friend of his, and Steve was a good friend of mine. Naturally, Dennis and I were going to become good friends.
I remember when I first met Dennis, that was the 2013 state convention, and I have to say, I was a bit intimidated by him at first, by this big burly biker guy, and at first when you got to know Dennis, you didn't quite know how to take him because he was rude and crude and sarcastic, but as you get to know him, you found that he really was this warm, caring person who was passionate about his causes. After that convention, Dennis started coming to our Fox Valley meetings, and he slowly became more active, and Tanya would join us at some of the meetings, and at all of our social events they were always there.
Dennis was, it didn't matter to him where the chips fell. He didn't care. It was the way he looked at life. He was a man's man. To quote an old phrase, he said what he meant and he meant what he said. He could drill to the core and he'd make us all look at ourselves and laugh at our idiosyncrasies. He was so good at that. He was marvelous in so many ways. He was smart, he was funny. He was my friend. He was everyone's friend. And he was a big part of the mosaic of our lives.
One of the few times that I really got to spend some time with him was when he came with us to go see John Stossel. He came along for the car ride with us, and that's when I really found out how much he had back problems, how he really couldn't do a lot. I really didn't realize it because he fills a room so well that you have no idea that he may even be in pain. When I found out later how much he cared about animals, that's a big cause for me. I'm all about no-kill shelters, and so to hear the things that he did behind the scenes for that cause, just it made my heart swell. One time he showed me a picture. Someone had taken in a bar where he, for no reason at all, decided to throw his pants down. He was wearing boxers, don't get me wrong, but just he's standing there in the bar drinking a drink with his pants around his ankles. And just like it, and I asked him, why did you do that? And he's like, I don't know, just because. And just, that was him. It was, let's have a laugh. And that kind of person is a joy to be around, and it makes you feel just so much better about the world and about life.
One of the greatest things that he ever did for me is I was out of a job at the time, and I really needed money. I didn't know where it was coming from, and he knew I had an AR-15, and as a libertarian it's very hard to give up your guns, but at the same time Dennis paid full price. We were going different places to see what I could sell it for. He was trying to help me out, but he saw what was going on. He paid for my gun for the entire, retail cost of what it would have been 5 years because he wanted to help me out.
I got to be at the memorial service for him at the Oddfellows, and it's a real measure of a person to see how he's remembered, to see this room just packed to the rafters, wall to wall, back to front, with people who loved him and cherished him and were there to honor his memory. And to see that, that was a real mark of what kind of person he was. And the fact that there will be a great big hole in everyone's lives now that he's not there.
My name's Thomas Hill, and I was only friends with Dennis for about 4 years before him and his lovely wife passed. But I'm thankful for all the good times we squeezed into those 4 years. Dennis was the type of friend that anyone would be happy to call friend, and I know if I needed anything, he would give me literally give me the shirt off his back. So thankful for all the good memories. Dennis was always the life of the party. And one of the good memories, and it's a reminder to me to live in the moment like Dennis did. He found fun in every moment that he lived, or at least he seemed to from where I was standing. So to his family, I hope you find comfort in knowing how many lives Dennis touched in his life. He was a good friend to many, and I'm thankful that I was able to call him friend, and I'll never forget him.
The times that I spent with Dennis mostly were related to the group, and of course Dennis was very big on charities. He was very passionate about the things he cared about, but he never let you know that. He was always sarcastic, he was snarky, he had a comment, he'd have a wisecrack, an insult, but deep down when you saw the work that he did, his ethic, he really cared more than he wanted anybody to know.
I met Dennis during the 2016 ballot access drive. He was one of my only runners during that drive, and living all the way down here in St. Louis, it was really huge to have someone volunteer their time to run petitions from our paid contractors up there. So right off the bat, Dennis was a hero to me. Walking out of the convention last year, Dennis was one of the last people I saw as I left the lobby. Him and Scott were getting a drink. And so I'll just always have that memory of the last time I saw him, and I know that we'll all miss him this time.
Part of Dennis's life that people in the LP really don't know about is his military service. He was a United States Air Force ammo troop, which basically he built bombs, handled explosives, anything and everything that had to do with munitions. At one point, probably passed through Dennis's hands. I know this because that's what I did in the military, and it's a really close-knit group, not unlike the LP. And so that's one of the reasons me and Dennis got along so well, is that we had that same background. So, yep. If you ain't ammo, you ain't shit.
He was a great friend, a great activist, and we all will really miss him.
He really lived more of a life than I did. In fact, I don't know that many other people, after hearing all of his adventures. Tanya was lucky, and Dennis was lucky. And I just hope they're all right.
And Dennis lives on. He'll be in my memories as he'll be in so many other memories for other people, and he'll never be forgotten. And all I gotta say is, Dennis, I miss you, but you'll always live in on my heart.
But I've always said that anybody who's well remembered will never be gone. And I think I speak for everybody who knew him that he never will be.
Welcome to my nightmare. I think you're gonna like it. I think you're gonna feel you belong. A nocturnal vacation, unnecessary sedation. You wanna feel at home, 'cause you belong. Welcome to my nightmare. Ooh. Welcome to my breakdown. I hope I didn't scare you. That's just the way we are when we calm down. We sweat and laugh and scream here, 'cause life is just a